In 1951, as Americans spent their summer watching a sensational new ball player, Willie Mays, and the last season of an old favorite, Joe DiMaggio, the Corvette dream began to take shape. Harley Earl wasn't at the ballpark. He spent his summer at the races, watching the world fall in love with foreign-built sports cars. He desperately wanted to build a domestic sports car that would wow the crowd. It would be a home run if it also turned out to be affordable.
He thought it'd be a nice thing for the Americans to be able to offer college kids an inexpensive car, but still would look very sporty and racy and would appeal to these kids.
Earl and his design team got busy with the 1953 Motorama in mind. He gave his staff free rein. The only restriction was that they had to use stock GM mechanical components. His personal favorite, the Jaguar XK120, inspired the designer's sketches. Earl quickly approved. He decided to use a relatively new lightweight and rust-free material for the show car's body, fiberglass. It gave the car something that the MGs and Jaguars didn't have, but he didn't know if Chevrolet would approve fiberglass for a production model, or whether it would work. It wasn't that the idea of using plastic for car bodies was new. It just hadn't been done on a large scale. In the 1930s, Henry Ford was so interested in the production of plastics from soybeans that he planted enough acres to grow the vegetables for 1 million cars. But even Henry Ford couldn't find a way to produce plastic cars cheaply. In the end, he made only one. With this in mind, Earl knew that using fiberglass was going to be a hard sell to the management team. But he argued that at this stage it was only a show car.
The idea was first to show it as a Motorama show car, and then to try to talk Chevrolet into building this car.
The project was approved for the upcoming Motorama, but the car still needed a name. 300 were considered before an employee in the Chevrolet PR department suggested the name of a fast Navy ship, the Corvette. Months of preparation had gone into the Motorama. It wouldn't be long now before the public got a look at the new Corvette. A somewhat nervous Harley Earl oversaw last-minute details. The stakes were high. This 1953 show car had to be a hit, or his dream would die. Finally, it was showtime. And the Corvette got rave reviews from the public and the press. Because of the response to the show car, Chevrolet scrambled to produce the Corvette. GM executives decided the production Corvettes would also be made out of fiberglass. In just weeks, Chevrolet set up a production line, a task that normally took years. Building the fiberglass-bodied car was a learning process. New timings, techniques, and tools were required. The laminators quickly exhausted the local store's inventory of spatulas. It was rumored that area homemakers couldn't bake for months. By the end of June 1953, the first production Corvettes rolled off the line. But only 300 cars could be completed that first year. All were made in polo white with red interiors. The cars were beautiful, but they were saddled with an underwhelming 6-cylinder engine linked to a 2-speed automatic transmission. Unfortunately, this engine and transmission couldn't deliver the performance sought by aficionados. And the car's steep $3,500 price tag was well above the $1,800 target price. The initial public approval began to wane.
It was sort of neither fish nor fowl. It was just a boulevard sports car.
Sheer and simple joy.
To make the most out of the few Corvettes available, Chevrolet spoon-fed them to high-profile customers, like the first host of NBC's Today Show, Dave Garroway.
Boy, what a car.
But the public was not convinced. By the next model year, 1954, the production schedule was a bit smoother. More than 3,500 cars were built. But even dropping the price almost $1,000 didn't stimulate demand. Nearly half of that year's production run would remain unsold. The word was out. The Corvette looked like a sports car, but it just didn't have that sports car feel. The Corvette appeared to be doomed. But in 1955, Ford inadvertently offered the Corvette a reprieve. Ford introduced its new roadster, the Thunderbird. Thanks to the fierce competition between Ford and GM, the Corvette would be given another chance. But it would have to change to compete. While it had been styling's baby, now engineering would have to come to the rescue.